be scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just fortunate. But anyway, so I mean, and also I really like the part of your kind of relationship to surfing New York, in that you also didn't. You're like, there's no surfing here. This is like your barometer of what surfing is Hawaii. So when you come here, you're like, what is this? This is not
Karen,
surf.
I lived here for 25 years. I had been to the beach. I would go to Reese Beach with friends, and I never saw any surf. Like, I had been to the Rockaways. I never saw a surfer. I never saw waves. I don't know how it was.
You weren't looking in the right place.
It was concealed to me somehow. It was. I don't even understand what happened. Like, and when I would go into the water, I would just be like, "This is disgusting."
It's like my friends from the Caribbean. They're like, "Yeah, I don't do this color water."
Yeah, this color is like the color of poo. I don't know why this color is this way. But, so I'm just going to jump to this summer. So 3 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, I went home to visit family, and I stayed in the Airbnb, and in the underneath, I don't know, it wasn't a basement. It was just like kind of under the house. There was this huge old waterlogged log. Somebody's. So I just asked the owner of the house, I'm like, hey, can I just take this surfboard out? And he's like, yeah, sure. So I lugged this big old tanker in this rental car, and I would go down to the beach almost every morning. I was either swimming or I'd paddle out. And, it was really small that summer. I think I had missed a swell, which was fortunate. So I paddled out, and
this is after not touching a surfboard for 25 years.
Well, I had visited home once and went with my cousin, and she had a big log for me. And I remember getting up and surfing with her, and she's like, oh, wow, you can still get up. I'm like, yeah, funny. Funny that I can still stand up. Okay, great. Anyway, so it was the same. I was weak and everything, but there's something, your brain is still like, this is what you do. Your brain doesn't actually think. Your body just, muscle memory is like, you should be doing this, even though I was weak. So
I wish I had that muscle memory now after not surfing.
I mean, it was 2 feet. It was tiny, So I come back to New York, and I'm kind of just thinking like, damn, I wish I could, and I'm also getting older. I'm like 49 at this point, and I'm like, I gotta like keep healthy. What am I going to do? Like, maybe I should take Kung Fu. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. So I go and hang out with some friends of mine. And I was telling them about having surfed in Hawaii and blah, 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 and how I want to keep in shape. In New York, yeah. So my friend Naomi, who's what do you call it? She's a Muay Thai person, and she has her own gym and blah, blah, blah. And you met her. So she's like, oh, well, I've been taking surfing lessons in the Rockaways, so we should go. I'm like, what are you talking about? Surfing lessons? What do you mean surfing lessons?
It's the beginning of the end.
Yeah, surfing lessons. I'm like, the Rockaways? Where in the Rockaways? I've seen the Rockaways. She's like, yeah, surf. We can go. So literally, I don't know, the next weekend or a couple days later, she and I drive to Long Beach.
Mm-hmm.
I buy a surfboard. I buy a 7-foot, that 7-foot board I have. Mm-hmm. And we were out almost every other day. Like, for some reason that summer, there were waves. Like, this was 2017. And the waves were breaking. And then it was just, I don't fucking know. Like, something just went off in my head. I'm like, what the hell have I been doing? Why have I not been coming to the beach? Why did I give this up? Why didn't I think to that there was surfing here? And the fact that I saw people in the water, I'm like, look at these people. They all knew about this whole time. So then I was thinking,
there's a conspiracy
I knew you had been surfing because we were Facebook friends, but we were not. I mean, we had been acquaintances for many years. I've known you since 2003 or something.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while, and definitely not in this context. It's like New York nightlife.
Yeah, I mean, I would see you at like the Caddy Shack and
your magazine, and then I lived in Bushwick. We both lived in Bushwick for a minute.
Yeah.
And then, so I would see you.
We would pass by each other, but we just never connected.
Yeah, I thought you were such a weirdo.
So, I recall.
I thought to be your friend, but you're so weird.
I'm going to let that comment pass by. So I saw that.
I love ribbing you.
I saw on your Facebook page that you would have these pictures of you surfing, not Rockaways, but like Indo, like you were on these giant waves. And so when I was surfing at Rock, I was thinking, I gotta get in touch with that Karen song because I know she's like a total surfer. So, cut to whatever, a month later.
You're walking on the beach. I'm walking on the beach in Rockaway, and I double take you. You double take. I'm like, and it's a context in which I'd never seen you. So I was like, wait, she looks familiar. And then it hit me. And I think we passed by each other, and then I turned and it was like, Grace. And I can't. And
Literally,
that was the beginning of the end. That was literally we made a surfing after that, and it hasn't stopped. And that was the year where we had the September to Remember, right?
Yeah. I mean, it started actually in August because there was a hurricane swell that came through, and I remember you and I going to Long Beach. That was
it wasn't
my first trip to Long Beach, but it was my first wake up to say, "Oh, wait a second, the waves can get big here."
Well, the funny thing is that you would be like, okay, yeah, this was fun, but I got to go. I got other stuff to do. And I was just like, what do you mean you have other stuff to do? This is it, Grace. And I think, I don't know if it's because you're Hawaiian and have this mentality like, the waves will come again. Like, and I'm just like, no, you don't understand. This is the season right now. This is so rare. It's like, it's offshore. And then it was like the sickest month and it didn't stop. I mean, to the point where we would sit out days that were like 3 feet and clean because we were so tired of surfing.
There was that week.
We kind of wanted it like a day off because it was nonstop and we had other things we needed to do. But I remember you were so relaxed about it. And I was like, you don't understand. This is so rare. And now you do because a few Septembers now.
Oh my God. Because 2018 kind of sucked. But I remember that one week where you met up with Alejandra and then the three of us surfed that hurricane.
Every day. Yeah.
And that was one of the swells for me to remember. It was like that whole week was so like that one sealed it for me. I was like, okay, well, I guess I got to start getting a million boards. I got to get all the various wetsuits.
Oh yeah, your gear.
I gotta get all the gear. Obviously, I'm not going to stop in the wintertime because I just got to keep going because there's no reason. Once you start, if you stop again, it's pointless. You just got to surf through every condition, every temperature change.
Let's bring this now to COVID times because I think it's, so we've been surfing, and now looking back, given where we are now, it feels like also an innocent time, right? We could just go out. Oh my God, we were watching When Harry Met Sally last night and seeing New York. And the way, all the spaces and the way people are together. And there's a scene of them at a Giants game and like all these people and doing the wave. And it was just like, oh my God, this looks so crazy. It's so crazy to see so many people in one field of view all together. Like, I mean, just visually, it was like, it made me very emotional, Yeah. And then all the New York spaces that I'm so used to seeing through the years, and to see people in it and wow. So, here we are in COVID, and then also some evolutions in your life have taken place since all these amazing years of surfing in New York, where it's reignited your own passion for it. And you had cancer and going through chemo, through COVID, and then from surfing and not surfing. I just find it really interesting because, when COVID first happened and we were all on lockdown, it felt really dark in New York, and it I had no appetite for surfing. It felt so irresponsible, and I also just wasn't in the mood. Like it just, and also the winter surf, there's so much more to surf, right? And then just the logistical aspects of it, and getting there, and even bathrooms and suiting up and just everything. And also just the feeling of movement felt very perilous. Everything felt perilous. And then thinking, oh yeah, 2 months, like that's not a sacrifice. Like, it's okay. We don't have to surf. Like, what's the big deal for this? There's a bigger thing happening. And this idea of kind of social responsibility, at that point, we really, we don't know much about it, but we knew less. And it was just hearing all the stories of what was happening on the front lines, talking to friends who worked on the front lines. Like, there's just so, it would be unfathomable. Like for me, it was just like, I just couldn't for myself, but I also I felt like everyone has their own relationship to surfing, has their own relationship to access to it, as well as how they feel about surfing in this time and where they surf. And, I just thought that everyone should just be conscious of it. And, it wasn't like everyone should or shouldn't. I think it was more a matter of like personal, like, I think on the most part, everyone should question it. But I think at the end of the day, if you must, then you have to do, but know the consequences, and know like the consequences, not just for yourself, but for others. Like, I think what COVID really showed us was that we are so integrally connected to each other, right? Like, I couldn't just go off to Indo and be like, all right, I'm going to sit this one out. This like affects everyone, despite class, despite race, despite gender, despite national borders, state borders, all of it, right? So this idea of our actions affecting, like literally affecting someone else's life and livelihood. And so I was really afraid, because I remember that first weekend in lockdown. I don't know if you just didn't know yet, but you were out surfing, and I was like, Grace, what are you doing? You're in the most vulnerable kind of like category of your immune system being compromised, and you're out surfing, and in Rockaway it's crowded, and what are you doing? And then I think after that you stopped surfing, and then it was back and forth. So I kind of want to hear, because I think it's really great, and kind of also, well, you tell us.
Well, I'm just going to give a little context on it. So at the end of August, I got diagnosed with breast cancer.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I mean, you're like the first person that I told, because we were surfing. We were like, I would see you the next day, and I'm like, okay, Karen, like I found a lump. I got to go get a biopsy. And then I had the biopsy, and then I'm like, okay, it's cancer. But the whole time we were still surfing through all of my diagnosis, and then my early treatment, which was 2 surgeries. And, so this is pre-COVID. So even during this time period, I felt like surfing was something that I needed to continue to do. And there was something about, the feeling of exuberance and health that surfing gives me. And also strangely, like this feeling like my relationship to fear. Like, there were a couple of days that we went out, that one day that was super huge when you and Tal and I went out, and it was out in Long Beach, and it was probably the biggest day I've ever seen in New York. It was a big day. And I had just had a lumpectomy, and my
that day,
and I was like, maybe 3 weeks from that surgery or something. And
that was a fun day.
and I was like, you know what? I just got to go. I'm like not in tip top shape. I'm not whatever, but like we're out
in the water.
Got to get in the water. And I think there's something about, like, of course, when you get a cancer diagnosis, you're scared. But like, I'm also scared of giant waves. So I don't know what fear is worse, like looking down the ledge of a giant hollowed out wave.
Well, you're on like a little potato chip. Were you riding that like single fin potato chip?
You know what? I didn't have the right board. I didn't like, what's crazy? So I'm like, so I'm doing this cancer
for low volume, teeny potato.
But I didn't. I mean, that was like an 8-foot, 10-foot day. And that was a big day. I don't know if you remember. You remember it, right?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, but I had the right board for the day, so I had fun.
You know what I did after that day? I bought a step up from Used Surfboards Hawaii. I'm totally plugging them.
Yes.
Used Surfboards Hawaii.
Alex, the best.
Yeah. So I ordered one like the next day. But anyway, so I felt like that was always a part of my like recovery and treatment. So then when January rolls around, my next set of treatments was to go through chemo, which was 6 infusions, 3 weeks apart. So it set up this kind of schedule for me that was...
And each infusion took hours, right?
Each infusion took hours. So my specific type of cancer had a profile that was, I would say it's aggressive, but I don't know if they talk about it that way anymore. Like, I think the way cancers talk about it, there's all these specifics to it these days. But anyway, so I needed to have 4 different types of drugs pumped through me through IV. So each